that you can count on anytime, any day. And apologies for starting behind time, behind schedule, that is. We're still trying to fix whatever has been broken, right? To ensure that we give you a very, very sound experience that you can count on. But this will not stop us from engaging. I mean, we've lost the 7 o'clock hour, but we shouldn't lose the 9 o'clock hour as we go political and we go current affairs. My name is Uduak Daniel.
And I am Omohefe Peace Osemere. Good morning. Thank you so much for staying with us. I mean, it's really, really heartwarming to know that family members are still under dire, regardless of, the technical challenges that we are faced with this morning. So just like Yudi said, we're going to continue with the conversation regardless, all right? And today on Eagles Outlook, we have a very topical issue to, talk about, taking a look at the lack of consistency and coherence in Nigeria's policy management.
Right.
Now, this has been a reason for so many, setbacks and shortcomings that we've seen in time past and even recent times in our country. A number of Nigerians had over time expressed, their concerns or reservations with the fact that we're fond of coming up with very good, mind-blowing policies. Implementation is a problem. And most of the time, even after implementation, there is usually no monitoring and evaluation. And somehow it trickles down to the lack of consistency. But is that really the reason why we are where we are today as a nation, or the willpower to ensure that the right thing is done is not there? These are some of the questions we're going to be getting answers to this morning on the show.
Well, yeah, if you also recall that just yesterday, was it, the former president Olusegun Obasanjo had said that Nigeria's democracy had failed. It was not just the only person who had made that statement. I mean, quite
Peter
a number.
Obi
Peter
as
Obi,
well.
Kuka,
Right. Yes, Kuka
was also there to put his voice to it. I think Patu Tommy. I mean, there's a number of political bigwigs, that added their voice in that regard. And a couple of Nigerians, as well as one or two family members, agreed or assented to that notion. But then, when we talk about policy, we talk about democracy, we talk about the federalism, we talk about the types of governance that we indeed are living as an experience. It makes us begin to want to take a serious eagle's eye outlook into Nigeria's policy management, which has been plagued by a lack of consistency and coherence. And that is resulting in quite a number of inefficiencies, which is hindering the implementation of interventions that are meant to accelerate national progress. So this issue has indeed been a recurring challenge in Nigeria's policy management. I mean, with various stakeholders, including the secretary to the government of the federation, being the latest, the SGF, George Akume, highlighting the need for a structured and institutionalized approach to policy formulation, its implementation, as well as evaluation.
That's right. He's also noted that the lack of coherence and consistency in policy management has led to inefficiencies. Do you agree with that? And according to him, this has actually made it difficult to achieve critical governance goals. Now, President Bola Tinubu's administration, is introducing a proposed framework to address these challenges. And the framework aligns with international best practices, as we've been made to understand, also remaining deeply rooted in the Nigerian context. Now, Hadiza Bala Usman, who is the special advisor to the president on policy and coordination, highlighted the gaps in Nigeria's existing policy landscape, including policy inconsistency and inadequate clarity around policy formulation and implementation process.
Well, then that takes us now to introducing our guest, who is indeed a family member, would like to say. He's in the person of Engineer Chinedum Elekwachi. Now, he's a public affairs, analyst. A very good morning and welcome to the Prog Show this morning, Engineer.
Good morning. Good morning.
Oh
Thanks
yes.
for having me.
Alrighty.
It's been a while.
It's been a
It's
while.
been a while.
That's why you're not a stranger, so you're a family member. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, looking at conversations, that's been bothering us. I mean, we've seen quite a number of things plaguing the country. One of such that is correlated to what we are talking about would be the recent outburst from some political bigwigs as well as former leaders of this great country, Nigeria, in the person of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, saying that our democracy has failed. In fact, some have even said woefully. Is it adding an adjective to it now, qualifying it woefully? But then Peter Obi too has added his voice. Bishop Kuka too has added his voice. I mean, we saw is it Patu Tommy adding his voice. Quite a number of people are jumping on that one, and this is not also not taking into cognizance the fact that Serap has also been very loud lately, right? One of such would be demanding from Mr. President to reverse the state of emergency, rule in River State and all of that. But then here we are again, right? The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, is calling for a structured and institutionalized approach to policy formation. In fact, he believes that lack of consistency and coherence in Nigeria's policy management is where we are getting it wrongly. How do you wrap all of these up?
Well, I don't know where to start from, but let me start from somewhere. Now we have a problem in this country. We have a problem that leaders, they don't cease to see the mistake they make when they are in the office, but they are quick to factor mistake when they leave office. Just like former President Obasanjo, former Governor Peter B, all these leaders now they are relying on this problem that we have problem of policy formation in the country. But they were leaders, they were past leaders. And we have to understand that the challenges and the problem we have as a country did not just start in President Tinubu's administration.
Right.
It did not start in President Buhari's administration or in President Jonathan's administration. It's a foundational problem that all the past leaders we've had has caused the country. So when they are making advocacy that this, they are supposed to have admitted that to be part of the chat, to have contributed to the problem we have as a country. They will not be coming on a neutral ground to be looking for a solution. Having said that, it's clear to everybody that we have bad policy formation in the country, and the problem is tied and associated with our politics. With the kind of politics we play here in the country, our politics is not progressive. It's not transformational. We play politics of getting to power, and it's just about getting to power and remaining in power. And that is why we have problem of transmitting or transitioning policy to the next administration coming after us, coming after the next one. So that is the problem we have. It's associated with our politics. Our politics is not progressive inclined. It's not transformative. We play politics of winning to power and politics of remaining in power. And that is why we found ourselves where we are as a country. And all it is a byproduct of mistakes of yesteryears of our past leaders.
Right, but let me come in there. I mean, even though the SGF is not a past office holder, if you like. I mean, it's in the current administration and it's coming out boldly to saying that there are some inconsistencies, that's going on with the policy formation, in the country, and hence the need for a policy management. But then if you move away from that, there has also been calls by very important personalities in the country, saying that even if there was a strengthening, an institutionalizing of the policy in the country, what happens to implementation is a lack of structure. That the structure and the systems that work these policies might still be the serious issue. And hence, they have fingered the SGF, saying, rather than talk about policy issues, you should talk about strengthening the structures and the institutions that work these policies. Do you agree with that?
You see, I agree that we have to strengthen our institution, and that's why people like us have always stood to protect institutions of our democracy. Because for us to have sustainability in our governance or in this democracy, institutions of our democracies must be protected. Having said that, what we should be talking about, if it's not what has stopped implementation of government policies, is the political way of politicians or political leaders. We have good policies. Do you know that some advisors of the government articulate policies, do resounding research? When they present it to their principals, they will not have the political courage and political way to implement those things. So political actors, our leaders, must have the courage to implement good policies that are being supplied to them. Like some of us in the private sector that is not in government. A time we come up, we think of the better policy a government or someone elected in a political office can deploy to service people. And when you supply those ideas, they are not courageous enough to implement them because they don't have the political way to do it. So political leaders firstly should have the political way to implement every policy they are articulating or they are bringing on board. That is why firstly we have to commend President Tinubu, because past leaders or former president has talked about removal of some subsidy. None of them had the courage to do that. President Tinubu came, he had the courage to remove subsidy, not minding other surrounding things about the removal of the subsidy. But we must commend him for the courage he had to do that. But
so should we also applaud the president for what's the futility that has come out of the subsidy removal, the poverty and the pain and the hardship? Should we also applaud it?
That is why I am saying that we're not minding what is surrounding the implementation of the policy, because yes, he had the courage to implement the policy, but other things surrounding it was not factored and considered before he did that. And that is why where we have problem in the implementation of policy, because every policy has its long-term goals, has its short-term goals, and you must consider all these things before you go on to implement a particular policy. And this is what President Tinubu.
Yeah, what term goals? What term goals? There's a subsidy removal. Is it what term is it now? Is it the long or the short? What term goals is it for Nigerians? Is what Nigerians want to know.
There was no consideration. There was no long-term plan. There was no short-term plan.
Right.
At the time the policy was implemented, there was none. And that is why we are today still suffering the effect of that policy implementation, because those things were not considered, was not checkmated. There must be first leg of implementing a policy, and the second leg. Yes, and that is what, if we have a responsive government, that is what government is a serious business. It's a serious business, but in our time it's not that way. People just see opportunity of coming to government as an opportunity to make money, an opportunity to remain in government, to be relevant.
Okay.
That is the challenge we have.
All right, Engineer Chinedu, thank you so much for that submission. And by the way, it speaks volumes to say and also to hear that most of our leaders, they only come into office, with the intention of enriching themselves and maybe favoring, the masses. However, when you talk about policy formulation and also the place of strengthening the institutions that we have, you take a look at the Oronsaye report, for example. There's actually recommended that in a bid to reduce, the running cost on a daily basis in our dear country, some agencies, some departments, some ministries should be scrapped. Some should be merged. Here we are. I mean, that actually came to the fore last year, and a number of people actually were excited somewhat that, okay, we're about to reduce the cost of governance and what have you. So again, it boils down to the willpower to ensure that the right thing is done, even when no one is watching. And you said something about courage earlier, that the courage to implement these policies, I mean, it means a lot, really. You even had to make reference to the past presidents and how they couldn't remove fuel subsidy, but here we are with President President Bola Tinubu, who was courageous enough to remove fuel subsidy. Now, my colleague here had actually asked whether that removal of fuel subsidy has brought about gains or even more pains for the masses. Don't you think that we should be very realistic with our analysis on the show by way of trying to maybe hit the nail on the head without mincing words? Are you saying that the removal of fuel subsidy has not brought about any gain at all?
Yeah, it has brought gain, and then it has brought gain. It has brought gain, and also there is some bad element to it because people today are finding it difficult to feed. The gain it has brought has not actually reflected in the life of a common man.
And whose fault is that? Whose fault is that?
What it has done is that it has given more money to state governors. It has given them more money. They have more money in their state, so they fly private jets around, wear designer shirts. That is what it has done. The common man is impoverished, finds it difficult to feed twice a day, and that is the problem we've landed ourselves. It is the problem. It's the problem of the system. Assuming that the president factored all these concerns, all these grey areas before this policy was implemented, before he took that courageous step he took, which I said earlier was commendable, I don't think we'll be having the problem we still have surrounding the removal of subsidy. We won't be having the challenge. Now, if you go to state, even with the money that is coming in, that the state governors now have increased revenue, increased allocation. If you go to some states, you see them doing less to nothing.
Okay.
Less to nothing.
You know,
and you wonder, where is this large amount of money going to that these persons are receiving as allocation?
I actually asked you a question earlier. Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? If you say that the policy has been able to bring about some gains and maybe more of pains, for the average Nigerian, whose fault is it? You remember very clearly, Engineer Chinedu, no one is holding fault for the government, by the way, but we're just trying to see how we can, strike a balance in the course of this conversation. The very day the president declared the removal of fuel subsidy, it wasn't even up to 24 hours before, the prices of foodstuff and other essentials skyrocketed. And over time, we've heard from the relevant stakeholders that, there's going to be a reduction in the pump price of petrol, but that does not really reflect. Do you understand that? So whose fault is it? Is it still the fault of the government? Is it the fault of the government by way of coming up with policies that are not realistic or policies that don't have human face? Or we should now look inward that maybe we are the problem, and that is why some of these policies, good or not, they are finding it difficult to thrive.
You know what? Recently I had a discussion with a commuter bus driver. I was telling him that now that there is a reduction in the price of fuel, so reduced from what it was past 6 months ago, past 8 months ago. Why is it that you guys have not reduced the cost of transportation? He told me, my brother, with the increment in fuel, we're not just considering that there are good roads or that we can move at ease. He said, what it costs us now to buy spare parts has tripled, it has increased. You see, and for us to do maintenance of the vehicle, all those things are what these guys they factor in. Because by that removal, inflation has, the inflation rate today in the country, and you know what it means, what it costs for you to move around. So all those things are what business people they factor in. The interest of anybody that is in business is to make profit. And it's because we don't have good resounding government policies, it will trickle down. It will affect every other sector and other layers of the economy. And that is the challenge we have. So if we are saying who should we blame or who is responsible for this, the government have to be blamed because the government has the responsibility of providing an enabling ground for businesses to thrive and for people to have good livelihood. It's the responsibility of the government. That is their responsibility to provide an enabling ground.
Engineer Chinedu, you might just end up, throwing away the baby and the bathwater, with your analysis. Aren't you aware of traders who want to make abnormal profit, no matter what?
Yes, 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 yes.
And that is
We cannot, we
also,
can.
and you think that is also as a result of the poor policies that the government, has introduced over time?
The policy we have on ground has given room for that. It has given room for that. Not minding that we have mischievous persons, but the policy we have on ground has given room for that.
All right. Well, we'll just open the phone lines, leave it there for a bit. Open the phone lines, get to hear from family members what they think about this pointing out from the SGF. Saying that with regards to the Nigerian situation when it comes to policy making and all that, there is a lack of consistency and coherence in Nigeria's policy management. So you should stick to the number 0907-353-0044. I'm giving it to you again, 0907-353-0044. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Daniel.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Efe.
Yes, good morning to
Yes.
you, Turkey.
Yes, I agree to this. Yes, my name is Kundu Stephen from National State.
Awesome.
Yes, yes, I want to disagree with your guest. Jonathan did not just have the courage to remove the subsidy, but he began the process. And Jonathan seemed to have a better idea of how to go about the removal of the subsidy. For example, Daniel, Jonathan began to work with National Union of Road Transport Workers. He bought buses, both big and small, and gave it to them, and was trying to react with them, knowing fully well that transportation is one of the key sectors that affect workers, both civil servant and private. Because, for example, when subsidy is gone, like from my place, from Hospital to one and we say it was 200. But the moment people say that subsidy is gone, it was 800 and 900. So Nigerians who were working for like 40k at Wuse Area 1, they automatically stopped going to work. And everything became so expensive. So it seems Jonathan did not just have the courage, but he had a better idea. The idea was that he would not force subsidy not once, maybe like 3 times. And that was going to be better for us. But this same president organized protest and said Jonathan cannot remove fuel subsidy. And Jonathan revised the decision. But when it comes to his turn, he said that fuel subsidy is gone. And he told the army and police to arrest anyone who dared to protest. So Jonathan actually had a better idea of how to remove fuel subsidy. And Jonathan also have what it takes to do this better with human feeling. And lastly, it's unfortunate that our Nigerian people, they will have to exploit Nigeria using every avenue. For example, there are some people who have converted their car to
CNG. Okay.
Yes, but yet they will still carry you at the same amount that those who are carrying, buying fuel are carrying. So they will not even tell you they are using CNG, they are buying it cheaper, but they will still carry you the same amount. Our people are very, very wicked. But having said that, if we go to buy parking of our vehicle, parks are very, very expensive. Ordinary tire now is about 70,000 or 80,000 naira. For us, you could take it before for like 15,000, and then get better for like 2,500 or 3,000. So everything has double times 2 the moment the president says the subsidy is gone without making any preparation, and Nigerians are there for it. But it's unfortunate that our governors are collecting so much money that it's actually not collecting any money. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you,
Turkinby.
Turkinby.
Said quite a lot, Turkinby, right there. You want to add your voice to the discourse too as well. You should call the number 0907-353-0044. That is 0907-353-0044. Better still, head out to the WhatsApp portal number and leave us a WhatsApp message. Make it as brief as you can. Go straight to the point. 0909-705-4450. That's the WhatsApp portal number. You can just very quickly send a WhatsApp message. And just be sure that you can follow us across social media platforms as we are hosting a live television on YouTube as well as on Facebook. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and, of course, give us a like and a following at Eagles FM Abuja.
Well, I personally think that whilst it's okay for us to ensure that these policies have a human face, we should also look inward, because I think this is one aspect that we actually shy away from as a people.
Right.
We're the masses. We need to look inward. Let us re-examine ourselves. All right. Are we also helping? Because the good governance that we all are clamoring for, it entails, a collective responsibility.
Right.
What role are we playing, as people that are being led by the government of the day to ensure that these policies, are well implemented, that there is consistency as well? Most of the time when there is no consistency, it's because, maybe the public actually did not receive that policy very well. And it's for obvious reasons, because how do you explain the fact that fuel subsidy was removed and in less than 24 hours, you saw these black marketers and they're still having a field day?
True. Well,
It's really very sad.
We're just going to take this call. Okay, that's amazing, though. Do well to give us that call again. Well, engineer, now you heard Turkenby,
Sure.
Undu. You heard where he's coming from, in that conversation. But just before you have your reaction in, let's just hear from this family member.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, good morning, sir. Yuri.
Good morning to you, please.
This should be
Good morning, evening, Coco.
All
Good
right.
morning. Good
Coco.
morning to the guest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you calling from, Coco?
Okay, I'm calling from the beach today. I'm at home now.
All right,
All right.
awesome. Talk to us, Coco.
All right. Sir, I want to say that while our policy is fluctuating up and down, is the result of not our government not looking inward before they bring a particular policy. Like what I'm saying is, like in the case of this fuel subsidy, I think before the president should come out to say the subsidy is gone, understand, he's supposed to call the people that are in charge of the fuel sector, tell them, okay, we are going to remove the subsidy. Now the price will go up. NFBC, this is what you will be selling. Now you now produce buses, okay, bus that is government official, the government bus, this is the amount that will carry people. Why people, this is the amount they will carry based on where they are buying their fuel. Like when I was in my place in Calabar, when our government want to stop bike, that time they say there should be no bike. They are announcing on radio that social money will stop bike. But before then, they produce all these mini buses, do you understand? That will convert people to where they went. So after that time, they produce buses and small cars. And that when that money finally came, they stopped bike. Then people now migrate to the buses and those cars. So people will not really feel the impact of that bike stopping. You understand? So I think that is the same thing that our president is supposed to do. You find a way to cushion the effects of the fuel subsidy removal, not to just come out and announce. When people talk about saying the drivers are not reducing their price, I think majority of us, we have cars. It's not only the fuel, even though fuel go down now. When you are going to buy a liter of oil now to do everything in your car, the oil we used to buy 7,000 that time, now it's about 15,000, 20,000, 30,000.
Okay.
Understand?
Okay.
The brake part that used to be maybe 3,000, now it's about 7,000. Oil filter that was 1,500, now it's about 3,000. You see, so it's not only fuel alone the driver are looking at. Other things to maintain the car are in a high price.
Okay.
So the driver has nothing to do than to put it on the passenger. So I think the force is from our government. Before they make policy, they should look inward. What will happen to this policy? How people will go with it.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, Coco. Says,
Thank you, Coco.
As we make these policies and everything, let's also consider or consult with the relevant stakeholders and to see how these policies will indeed go in the mainstream society. But well, are we forgetting the parts, our human nature part? I mean, just while Coco was talking, myself and Omoefe had some reflection, into it's something that has become embedded in our very system. It's not. It's like a nature now. At every opportunity
we get.
we
want to make quick profit.
Oh, it's just
not really
it's
quick
just how
profit,
we
now
are.
abnormal
Profits.
at the expense of your fellow Nigerian. No, it speaks volumes.
Right.
Now, the public transporters are telling you that even though there is a reduction in the pump price of fuel, or they pay through their notaries to make sure that they maintain their vehicles, how much is a tire now, how much is engine oil, how much is brake pad, and what have you. Now, let's not forget that some of these things are actually imported into the country. And even the ones that are not imported into the country, how are we transacting here in Nigeria? Are we not aware of schools? Are we not aware of malls who actually transact in dollars? Who are those dollarizing the economy? The naira was actually floated at the currency market. With the hope that it will bring about some, stability.
Some improvement in stability.
Do you understand that? And even though economic analysts, had come out to say that, look, the orthodox method of, floating the naira or making sure that interest rate is hiked or jacked up, it would not really bring about good, some level of good. Maybe there might be gains, but it will be insignificant. However, what exactly contributed to the woes of the naira, to speak, at the moment?
Still policy.
Floating the naira was a policy.
That's it.
That's right. But we still had forces.
Oh, yeah.
Human forces.
Yeah. But anyways, let's get on with engineer. Engineer, are you there?
Yes, I'm
all
with
right.
you, sir.
Talk to us now. I mean, the diverse angles, to this and all of that. Can we totally say it's is policy just at the government level, and do individuals, the citizenry, have a role to play in also ensuring that policy is institutionalized,
sustained as well?
Rightly, yes.
Yes. Of course, the citizens has a role to play. Leadership is interwoven. It's not a one-man thing. If you're in leadership, you have to carry your followers along, and the way to carry followers along when you have a policy that that is far-reaching is by consulting them. In a democracy, consultations are allowed. You have to consult them by a way of town hall meeting, by a way of sensitization. Probably these are what national orientation agencies are supposed to do if they are functional. So this is a way you can engage the citizens and also get their input, because citizens will have an input to make should have an input to make in every government policy. For that policy to be sustainable and for that policy to work, the citizens need to be consulted. Let them have input. Let them make an input in a particular government policy. Then with that it will work. But the bottom line is the courage. As I've said, is the courage, the political will to deal with every policy you are bringing on all the layers of the policy. That is the bottom line. When you don't have this, every policy will just fall and will not achieve the purpose of the decision.
Right. Well, so you've spoken, comprehensive wisdom. But let's get to opening the phone lines again. Before we do that, let's go take this message coming from Yusuf, I believe, from Wuse too.
Right. This is from Yusuf. He says, good morning, UD and Haji Amoife. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, has identified inconsistency and lack of coherence as major obstacles to effective policy management in Nigeria. I agree with him. For instance, our foreign policy, our position on Russia-Ukraine war, Democratic Republic of Congo is not clear. Economic policy is another one. Government wants to improve the value of the naira, yet they are implementing dollar for crude policy that will end up devaluating the naira. Under education, the government was considering a move from the current 934 system to 12-4 system to give room for vocational training. Another example is health insurance policy, which is not working for ordinary Nigerians because of inconsistency. Government policies are not well thought out before formulation, and there is hardly key performance indicators. I'm happy that SGF is now trying to address this issue. And this one here from Malam Sanusi says, this is not the time to apportion blames. The courage to implement policies by removing subsidy had been found. There might not be enough time to consider the effect on the masses, but to save our nation that was at the verge of collapse if nothing was done in that regard. We are not holding brief, yes, for any person, neither are we gaining anything from speaking the truth. long term or short term benefits of policies, we all have to support the government to move on. No pain, no gain. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Right. Malam Sanusi from Suleja, thanks for that message.
Well, we would have loved to go further, but I don't think we can go any further.
Well, I don't think so.
At this point in time. But Engineer, you have spoken comprehensive wisdom, and we really appreciate your inputs, in the discourse this morning. We really hoped that we had more time to engage, but we can go further. But thank you far too kind. And just as you said, it's been a while. We're glad to connect with you again, indeed, and we hope that you prosper in all you do too.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right. Yes, and to each and every one of us that also added our voices to the discourse this morning, thank you far too kind. We don't take you for granted. We still see the phone lines beeping. It does mean that family members, as well as the larger society, wants to indeed engage, in politics, and not just politics. Add our voices loudly and clearly in the most civil and responsible way. Teach some of these leaders who do not know or have the decorum, to speak, how to stand for the truths. And you have done rightfully well. And like we said before, we don't take you for granted and all of that. Let's keep engaging. Let's keep talking this talk, because it will indeed go a long way in changing the narrative in the near future.
Well, my submission would be the fact that we all have a role to play, and just like a family member rightly said, it's not enough for us to apportion blames, but we must come together and help bring about the good governance that we all are clamoring for. My name is Omoefe Peace Osemere.
Odrak Daniel is my name.
We'd like to add to it that the views expressed on the show were not influenced by the station. Good morning.
Good morning.